Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, the final week of the regular season has arrived for Joey McGuire and the Red Raiders. What's on the line? Everything.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you once again, kicking off the final go-round regular season-wise for Joey McGuire and the gang as we are looking ahead to Morgantown, West Virginia. We'll get to doing that in just a moment. Also, we'll look back to what was in the Bahamas, and it was, well, a pretty big gap between the nation's top-ranked team and our Texas Tech Red Raiders. What did we learn? For certain, I'll just spoil the mystery. We are not number one, so we'll get that out of the way right now, and we'll get back to some other thoughts on the island experience in just a moment. But, Chris, wanted to kick off our conversation football-wise, catching up, because essentially what we have here is, well, everything left to be settled as far as the Arlington or bust narrative. We wondered if going into this trip to Morgantown, you may be having something clinched courtesy of some help elsewhere. It did not happen that way. Sort of a strange wrinkle you gave me just before we began our conversation was that actually still prior to your kickoff, technically, you may know some things. So I'm looking forward to you setting this table for me this week. But, yeah, the stakes remain as high as they could possibly be, right, to the very end.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to prepare no different than you normally would have all week for this game, and the mindset is you're going to have to earn your way to get into a spot in Arlington. It's just crazy because you're going to go down to the final couple of days of the season, as good as your year has been, without even having done anything yet and accomplishing your goal. It's going to go down to the very end here, whether that be on a Friday night or Saturday in Morgantown. But I think that Joey wouldn't have it any other way. I think that this is probably always the way it was going to be to a certain extent. And I think you're okay with it. And you want to come off of your bye week like West Virginia and go take care of your business. So what happened over the weekend is the what would have allowed you to clinch a spot is if, because you've got this pesky tiebreaker thing with Arizona State hanging over you because they beat you. So, and they're just hanging right there. They keep winning, and they're just hanging right there. They keep almost they let Colorado hang around for a bit, then they blew them out. But the week before, it was these same Mountaineers that almost got it done there in Tempe. But until Arizona State loses a game or until you win another one, that's kind of the deal. Well, it just so happens that I believe they call it the Territorial Cup between Arizona and Arizona State, which I think is being played Friday night at 8 o'clock. That is 8 o'clock Central. I guess that would be, 6 o'clock Arizona time, I think, although they don't do daylight savings and the time zones things. I don't know when the hell it's but I believe it's 8 o'clock Central or something around there. Friday night, if Arizona wins, which is doable now, Arizona's been playing pretty good football lately. They've kind of turned it around, been one of the sneaky good teams in the league. They just hammered old Baylor that's going to bring their coach back next year. And Baylor looked lifeless, and Arizona just kind of leaned on them a bit. And they're starting to string some weeks together here. Arizona just beat Cincinnati recently. So that game will be concluded on Friday night. If Arizona wins that, then again, your game as it relates to the Big 12 championship game doesn't matter. You at that point would be in. Now, there's levels to this conversation because you don't want to be fiddling around with backing your way into this deal, because then you start getting into, okay, well, where do you get? What's the CFP rankings going to look like? And And can you is now getting into the CFP just guaranteed if you obviously if you win the Big 12 championship, but if you were to lose it, that game, could you still be in at large? Which if you lose to West Virginia, all that hope is lost. I mean, you will have. It's got to be a win and in scenario in Arlington too. Whereas I think there's a chance that if you were to beat West Virginia and play for the league title, and you play a close game and BYU theoretically maybe beats you, you could still make it in. So these are all the scenarios here. But you haven't even achieved the original goal of getting to Arlington just yet. And I think that the percentages out there and the odds actually favor BYU having a better chance to make it to Arlington than you do right now, simply because they're going to play a UCF team at home. You're going to go play a West Virginia team on the road in the cold, and both teams need a win, and they've got a much easier game than you do from that standpoint. No elements, you wouldn't think, or being at home versus away, all that kind of stuff. But that's where it sits. The other game that does factor in at some level will also be played on Friday is Utah and Kansas. If Utah were to lose, and they've got I don't know what that was over the weekend. I don't want to hear. I know that this sounds bad. It kind of takes away from your own deal and all that. I guess I'm just the Utah fans have just been so much all season long. But they're going to have a hard time with the whole at-large berth and feeling like they've been screwed and all that, because in one way, they're like, man, they survived it. Holy cow, credit to them. They gave up nearly 500 yards rushing. 500 yards to a Kansas State team that the most they had all year was 276. I will just say this, and Chris Kleiman got very emotional after this game. I think he was leaking some liquid awesome. I think it was a lot. He stopped short of saying anything about the officials. The officials absolutely gave Utah the treatment, and I hope that Texas Tech gets the treatment in Morgantown. And I'll just leave it at that, because there was, I don't know, and I have no opinion on the Kansas State Utah game. Utah got the benefit probably 6 different times. Flags on the field that are going to be called against Utah. Hey, after further review, there is no foul on the play. Multiple things. I mean, like there was, and so I would like the Red Raiders to get that same treatment. It would be a lot of fun. So
Mark was working the two-way. You're saying from.
I don't know who was working. Yeah, I don't know who's working what. I just know that Utah did that. Utah committed a lot of penalties that it certainly appeared that weren't called or were picked up or whatever, and Utah benefited greatly. But credit to them, they survived it. And but I just, you give up 500 yards, like, are you broken? Like what? That's wild to me. That absolutely wild. And may have been Kyle Whittingham's last home game as the Utah head coach too. So file that away.
Rough look for Kleiman, man. What are you doing? I was kind of surprised by that reaction after the game. Anytime you're having to tell someone how much respect you deserve, then you may actually be sort of off the path there to a degree. I was surprised to see that reaction, but I know he's just at the heights of frustration, I'm sure.
And I think he's just, his AD's up there hugging on his neck. It's a weird deal, but they had that game won multiple times, and it just, I don't know. I've been around those scenarios before where you just, it's a lot going on, and your body just gives up. And it was like, you just want to call a timeout, but yet in that moment you've got cameras staring at you and people asking you questions and all the things going on. So anyways, but so I say all that to offer up back to I don't want to bury the lead there, that if Utah were to lose against Kansas in Lawrence on Friday, that also kind of widens the plate for you a bit and gives you more chances to because it's like Texas Tech and BYU could potentially lose if Utah loses and this and that. I mean, so anyway, but I don't want to get into all that. I think that I'll be rooting for Arizona on Friday night, just so you have that card to play in your back pocket. I don't want to have to use it in any way. And you will come in guns a-blazing, and you're about a 3-touchdown favorite against. But with your quarterback situation and
Yeah. Before we get to that matchup, Chris, can I ask you about this picture of Big 12 at-large possibilities with the playoff? Because whether it was Tech or, say, a BYU two-loss team, I've seen them kind of framed with, I guess, if chalk wins out, finishing the regular season, conference championship games, I think you're in like a category with a two-loss Notre Dame, a two-loss Miami, some teams of that ilk that selection committees will be making choices between a second-place Big 12 finisher and those. And I got to tell you, we know how the logos work in the boardrooms. I feel like the Big 12 is going to be climbing a steep hill there. So, look, we know where we want Texas Tech, and that's just continuing to win everything and getting there by virtue of that. How do you feel about those Big 12 at large odds? First, today's episode brought to you by Wayfair. And there's something nice about getting back into a routine you love, and Wayfair makes it easy to set yourself up for the season ahead. From bedding and linens to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair is your one-stop shop to refresh your home. So convenient to find exactly what you need all in one place and at a price that fits any budget. Plus, the delivery is fast and free, even for something big. It's the perfect time to get your home just right, whether organizing, upgrading, or simplifying, and Wayfair has got you covered on all fronts. Get organized, refreshed, and back to the routine for way less. Just head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com, WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home.
Yeah, the only realistic scenario I see that you have a chance to get two bids in to this deal, which I've maintained all along, you're going to be a one bid league. I just think that there's just too much working against you and out of your control, and it's frustrating. But I get projections and I get rankings and I get all the talk and the hope that you want. The best chance that you are is going to involve the team that we cover, because I think that's the one scenario where it is very realistic. Although I don't want to.
Yeah.
You're going to spend a really nervous Saturday night and early Sunday morning if it comes to that. I will tell you that. And I would just so happen to pass on that, anxiety.
Yeah, because two losses for BYU to the same team, you think would just
they would be out. Yeah. The only way is comfortable wins by BYU this week and Texas Tech this week. So you get the rematch, and then the only way I see it is if you have a very close and competitive loss if you're Texas Tech, and I think that would really put you in a spot where you may not be in a host scenario anymore, but I still think you would find your way in. But some of that's going to be about what else happens. And again, as we're sitting here talking, you're just trying to get to Arlington first before. But That's the way this is looking. Yeah. So what you're going to have though is you're going to have everybody rooting against you this weekend. You're going to have everybody rooting against you in Arlington as well if you were to make it, and because everybody wants your spot, and everybody wants the chaos, if you will, and that allows for more SEC or the independent known as Notre Dame or the ACC to get multiple bids in or whatever it is, and you just need to keep your head down and keep getting results, and against a team that you're favored over by 3 touchdowns. And potentially against a team that you beat by 22 points about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and by the way, here's your reminder. You should be rooting for us. We're America's team, after all. We're out there fighting for you. Oh, your name's not Astor, DuPont, or Rockefeller. We're your team. Maybe not the reminder, maybe the first time you've heard it. So welcome to the wagon. Chris, as far as the team that's standing in the way of all this coming possible first, and that being West Virginia, forget the scoreboard watching. Let's talk scoreboard that's actually going to be in the stadium that Tech's in. What are we making of the Mountaineers to wrap up this regular season, which has not been anything they wanted it to be? You made a great point last week of like, hey, this is it for them no matter what. So what an opportunity to build up and knock off a team that's got some things going on. Couple of wins, and somehow you get one of those against Houston on the road, which was startling. Colorado, we know what they are, and then you make it tough. I guess last time around on Arizona State. So you think they're figuring something out? Let down from the other guys? What are you making of Rich Rod's crew?
I think they're playing hard. I think this is a head coach that is very passionate about where he's at right now. He's gotten a second opportunity there, and I think that he's what scares you the most. I just don't know if they have enough to pull this off. But here's kind of the West Virginia team you're looking at here. They've got what are they, 4-7? Is that right?
Yep.
And two of those wins are against Pitt and Houston, that are 8-win teams right now going into the last weekend. So, like, good teams. Teams are going to go to bowl games, and teams that have made things interesting. I mean, because Houston was able to beat Arizona State. Pitt was able to beat like a 9-1 Georgia Tech team this past weekend. Well, they, Richrod and his guys kind of figured it out. They are basically on their third or fourth string quarterback in Scotty Fox. I think he's a good story. I think he's kind of given them some life. They are on their, they lost Jaheim White, who was one of the top backs in the country, and some preseason accolades and this and that. He got hurt in the first or second week of the season. So they've kind of had to reinvent themselves. We're talking like 81 new additions to their roster in total. And the part that would make me nervous if I was West Virginia is they had to replace their top 8 offensive linemen from a year ago. So this whole group up front is just brand new. They are a tempo-based outfit. I think they beat Houston running the football. They almost beat Arizona State throwing the football. So they can do a few different things. But if you're dealing with a motivated Texas Tech team, which, as we've laid out, boy, you sure should be. I mean, like, it's every goal that you have is right there in front of you that you've still got to go accomplish. You run the ball, stop the run, and make this young kid try to. But that's, they're playing hard, and they're going to take some chances. It's going to be senior day, and it's going to be cold. Okay, that's the other thing. I do think you catch a break with the 11 a.m. kick. That will be the semi-warmest part of the day and everything like that. I guess this the early part and in the sun, under the sun and all that, if the sun is shining. But this will be, you'll be dealing with something, whether it's cold or wind or some sort of precipitation, whatever it may be. And, you've got this quarterback of yours that, yes, he's coming off a week of rest. You just don't want to fiddle with this deal as you've got different goals laying ahead of you. So Cam Dickey, Jacoby Williams, your offensive line, your tight ends, go have a day, gentlemen. Go have a day.
Something that stood out to me about the game against Houston, had a chance to watch that one, and sort of about the team overall. That day they were heavily impacted by the turnover margin. I think West Virginia was 40 takeaways to turnovers that day. And maybe surprisingly related to their record, they're in plus territory as a team. I mean, it's barely, but still, so you go out there and, like you said, fiddle around and give it away or do something like that, then look out. You could be in trouble.
Yeah, this is one of these games that like you don't want to be muffing a punt. You don't want to take a chance on trying to force a ball in there, all that kind of stuff. You probably don't need to take too many chances on special teams. Keep in mind, they will.
Yeah.
They have nothing to lose. And, hey, man, let's go have some fun. Let's put in this trick play for Billy over here. Let's go put it. Let's let my man Simon get a little work in this deal. I mean, they can. You just want to go play a good sound game, and with the elements, it can kind of make it a bit tricky on you because this will be the coldest game you've played in all year. Because I've seen anything from the highs like around 37 to 41 as we are talking now for Saturday in Morgantown. But I do think, though, that kickoff time benefits you greatly because it impacts potential crowd noise and juice in the stadium and all those things. Because a night game, and you just don't know. But then the other thing is, I don't know what the energy level will be like. Maybe they show up in full because it's their last chance to show up and support their man Richrod and all the things. But I just think that is, personally, I was thrilled to see this. I mean,
I as well.
Selfishly, and there you go. But I do think there's probably a slight benefit to you getting this kickoff time as well. So we'll kind of see what we get. But you're right, man. The turnovers. But I just wonder, and we'll hear what Joey and the staff thinks about this deal. But like, you really want to force this freshman quarterback to have to beat you repeatedly. And if you come out and you do what you did to UCF and you start fast, and then they've got to start throwing it, and you can do your pass rush thing, it's kind of the recipe. So play from ahead and all those things. But yeah, I think there may not be in any more important aspect for this particular game than your run game and your ability to stop the run. And you've been pretty good with both categories, especially so stopping the run most of the season.
Yeah, I'm happy for more breakfast football on the road. Not mad at another 11 a.m.er. I don't want these West Virginians having all day to get lathered up, whether they're any good or not. I think they'll take the opportunity to have a football party. And by God, this is the Duchendorf Cup after all. It's the battle for John Denver's soul. You know they're going to be worked up over this one. So I was not displeased to hear that kickoff time. Hopefully Tech can take advantage of it and other things presented to them. We'll have plenty more on that matchup as we get through this week and get ready for a regular season finale that, yeah, after all this, somehow still the entire season hangs in the balance, essentially. As
I know.
The final weekend. Even after the highs that you've had, you've achieved nothing you really set out to yet. You just still have a chance.
But Cowan, I would offer this up to you. It's stressful, right? Everybody's ready to plan and do this or don't jinx that and all the stuff. We're all in the same world we're living in right now, and it's kind of like frustrating in some ways because you just can't quite get there just yet. You're gonna have to go, until the very end. But we see this all the time in professional sports. There are these teams that just roll through the regular season and they clinch a playoff spot or the 1 seed or whatever. Then you start resting people. You take the foot off the gas, and and you have a hard time getting that back. And then they end up facing a team, regardless of sport, that had to grind, and they've been in the playoffs since the end of the regular season with no margin for error, and they get hot, and then they get confident and all that, and typically which team wins. We see it all the time in baseball, hoops, football, even all that stuff, like with some of the wild card teams, whatever. So I don't. It has sucked having to go through this because you would have loved to have just known. But I do think there's a benefit to you having to keep your foot on the gas, you having to earn every bit of it. You haven't been able to rest your quarterback that's got a leg injury. You haven't been able to do some things down the stretch. And they won't operate this way. Even if Arizona pulls this game off on Friday night, I don't think they would approach that game any differently on Saturday, just because of the CFP aspect and all the things. I think you will be, that's not a bad thing in a way, as stressful as it's been.
No, don't think it's a bad thing at all. Let's keep the edge. The edge. All right, before we get out of here, Chris, I do want to switch gears and catch up with you on what's been going on most recently with Red Raider Hoop. What? First, today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly feel the call of the stadium. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can then splurge on foods, drinks, gear, and more. Gametime makes it all possible. And best of all, Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. And if you're like me, you get tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, and that's why Gametime's Zone Deals is the go-to move, since it automatically picks the best seats in your section for you at the best price. And as always, you can get a view from your seat right there in the app. So before you buy, you know exactly what you're going to see. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use our code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last-minute tickets at the lowest price, guaranteed. All right, before we get out of here, Chris, I do want to switch gears and catch up with you on what's been going on most recently with Red Raider. What? Huh? Someone calling me to do something? No, I've got plenty of time. Okay, I'll stay and talk about this then. Sorry, I thought somebody was calling me to maybe do anything else other than catch up on our most recent result, Chris, where we found out a few things. No doubt about that. Certainly that Texas Tech is not the number one team in the nation. You fall by just a slight 30 there against Purdue. You go 1-1 in the Bahamas with a tight win over Wake Forest. Here most recently, some thoughts from Red Raider head coach Grant McCasden.
It's about as bad of a beating that we've taken ever. And give Purdue all the credit, man. They were so efficient. The score's 15-15 in the first half, and thought we had settled in enough to have, some composure. The game got in the 20s, and it was a 5-point game. And then just the floodgates opened, and it was in every way. We were struggling. We were taking non-paint threes. They were getting rhythm shots. They were offensive rebounding. I mean, obviously we got beat on the glass by 18. And when you start to get punched in the mouth like they did to us, you got to respond and you got to do it quick. And we didn't. And this one's completely on me. I did not have us ready to play. We were on the perimeter. We shot 34 threes. We got to the free throw line only 14 times, and they crushed us on the glass. And they executed everything and just had us on our heels all night. So give them a ton of credit. Coach Paint is obviously a great friend and a great coach, and they were prepared. I thought Oscar Clough was tremendous. I thought Braden Smith just controlled the whole game. They got what they wanted when they wanted, and we offered little resistance, and that's on me.
All right, Chris, humbling, hopefully beneficial. Where do we go from here?
Well, it's there's some irony here in that, in years gone by, when you're kind of struggling with football season and it's not been what you want, it's like there's a lot of I get a lot of texts to my phone. Man, I can't wait for hoops to get started. And I saw a lot of, hey man, at least we got football after the result on Friday night. So everybody's always like, look, it was not pretty. I'm not even sure that you should have beaten Wake Forest. Now, you're not giving that win back. You didn't play particularly well in spots in that game, but you survived it and won. And I thought you would be able to hang with Purdue for a bit. I was worried about that game if you get the best version of Purdue, and they played about as good as they possibly could have. And you played probably about as worse, and it equals a net 30-point, blowout. These are long seasons. You happen to play a team here that had, I think, what did they start? 4 seniors. They had a bunch of guys back in their program. Their player retention is why, and Braden Smith, obviously, who's the National Player of the Year preseason, according to some outlets, is why they were picked to finish, or pick preseason number 1 and all those things. And they just started clicking on, and it was a road game for you. I mean, there was, 2,500 people there, and I think, you had about 50 to 100 to 200 maybe, and the rest were Purdue fans. But an old, mature, connected team making everything versus a younger team that is new and missing everything. It's a bad combination.
Tough.
It's tough, a bad. What I see, these are not bad lessons to be taking right now. You will suffer no consequences for losing. Okay, maybe you're not going to be where you want in the top 25 based on this result. Maybe you fall all the way out. Whatever. These are not bad lessons to be learning right now, especially from the folks that are giving them to you. Because you suffer no consequences by losing to the number 1 team in the country by 1 or by 30. And yet it probably speeds up some of the process of Grant in trying to point out some things to his guys some of these new pieces, we've been trying to tell you, but you also need health and you need some body of work to draw from with guys practicing and all these kinds of things. But this is a really good team. They were bigger than you. They were older than you. It's a team that got bounced in the first round last year after a really good year. And so there's some motivation there. There's some pissed off for greatness vibes that you're getting from them. And you're still well underway of figuring it out. Who's going to speak up in that locker room? JT Toppin did against Illinois, let everybody have it. And he played unbelievably well in that game. But in this game, he's shooting air balls. There's some turnovers. It's just like he was along with the rest of the group. Somebody has got to speak up. I was getting a lot on Friday night, like, man, you missed this. You miss Chance McMillan. That's who you miss. You miss his leadership. You miss Elijah Hawkins's ability to settle everything down or go make a scrappy play and give you a fist bump. And like, you miss some of that fight and grit that Grant talks about a lot, because they were kind of shell-shocked the other night. And again, road game, and the other team is really good. But you're also, I don't know if I like the relying solely on throw it into JT, let him see if a double team comes. If it does come, throw it out for a three, or if it doesn't come, then that was kind of your offense way too much. Or you're just like some no pass threes. You just dribble up and heave it, or a one pass three. It's like, okay, we're not going to really run anything. Hey, you heave it. I mean, I don't know if you're good enough to do that. You need to pound people in the paint. You need to initiate and create offense from the free throw line by putting pressure on the opposition. And so it just all kind of unraveled. But these are good. It's a long season, people. I mean, and it feels bad right now. I mean, we're just not very good. Well, maybe you aren't like necessarily right now, not compared to the top teams in the country, and you've played two of them. But it's a journey. It's a lengthy process. And the problem with playing these games, like the schedule that you're playing right now, is it will slap you in the face hard when it doesn't go well early, and you're like, God dang. I mean, and LSU's not going to be that stiff of a test, but Arkansas and Duke certainly will. And if you don't get some things figured out between those two, the same things will happen in New York or in Dallas. And then the real journey starts when the calendar turns to 26. So just hang in there. They've got 2 games this week, but yeah, it was some harsh reality there the other night. And it's hard to glue these pieces together quickly, especially when you're dealing with what you were having to deal with against Wake Forest and Purdue.
This has nothing to do with the 30-point loss to Purdue. I was saying this in the midst of the Wake Forest game the night before. I don't want to play in these ballroom games anymore. What is happening here? What are we doing? We can't find a gym somewhere in the United States of America to host teams like this with, I don't know, maybe $5,000. I know these things happen, Chris, and you like got the Maui Invitational in the small gym, whatever. There's some character, but this, I texted you. It stunned me so much. I'm like, we're in a conference center right now. We're in a ballroom. What are we doing?
What kind of setting is this? I'm like, there's like this stage over there. It's like this glorified church.
Like a Mary Kay convention next door.
Yeah, church gym or something. Yeah, I mean, and the optics on TV are a bit tricky, but it as you heard, it got really loud in there. There's no, and it probably feels a little more intimidating when you're the road team like you were, because all the Purdue fans showed up. Their football team sucks. They're like, hey, man, let's go watch some hoops. Because these people are just literally like right on top of you. And when I say literally, I mean, you've got 4 Purdue fans sitting right next to Coach McCaslin and that group and all that stuff, because they've got nothing else to cheer for up there in West Lafayette. So
I don't know what's going wrong at home for those boys, but God bless. T's and P's, guys. Yeah, but by the end of it, you had the friggin' maintenance staff folding sheets rooting against you over in the corner. I mean, rolling a trolley. It's just kind of a strange environment. So that's just a personal college basketball fan beef. And you know what I am, Chris. I'm an American. Let's go ahead and shop local here. If we got to play in a conference center, come down to the Overton or something. If you want to be in a ballroom, we got American ballrooms too. We even got beaches in some of these places. If you got to that stunned me. But nonetheless, it's akin to nothing. So I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Chris, appreciate your time as always and insight on a variety of subjects. Of course, we'll be back to processing some football thoughts as we take a listen to Coach McGuire and company on the other side as they kick off the week with their weekly convening with the media. Last regular season edition. Can you believe it? We are almost to this regular season finish line with still everything out there for the taking that you were after. So couldn't ask for much more than that, but I will ask for another episode coming up, man. So I look forward to it, and we'll see you then.
You got it, man. Thanksgiving week is here. Woo! And boy, is it important. Yeah, we'll be here all week with you. Keep hope alive, people. This is what you've all wanted. It's what we've wanted. It's here. Let's get it done.
That's right. Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thank you to the Everydayers for always riding along. And, of course, the Matador Mob. Hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial. If you're interested in joining that crew, it's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.